where we investigate all things great and small. Please keep hands and feet inside the lab at all times. You may use the yellow bar to adjust your position until you're comfortable. Comfortable.
Oh, sorry about that. I've been on standby I've been hard at work doing stuff. Anyway, you must be on a tour of the Kurzgesagt labs, huh? Well, lucky you've wandered into the best lab by far. Let me show you around. Check out the blue capsule on the left. This is my greatest invention, a way to overcome the laws of physics. Shrinkagen. If you add it to things, they become teeny tiny. And I managed to invert it so I can also scale things to giant size. It can get a bit tricky when you overdo it, but 70% of the time it works every time. Oh, almost forgot. There should be a tablet with yellow handles nearby. Could you pick it up, please? That's the lab tab. It works as a travel guide for this lab. It records as I talk and makes suggestions about what to do next. You can use your thumbstick to scroll and go between. Okay, check out the machine on your right, the one with the big handle in the middle. This is the Scalevator. It lets you grow and shrink this whole lab so you can visit other realms and see the worlds within worlds around you for yourself. It can also take the lab outside. Let me demonstrate. Wow, it's good to be out again. So much data to be collected. But I'm sure you can't wait to try out my invention. Do you see a boxy white tool with a yellow handle that looks like it could be some kind of blaster? There it is, the multi-tool. The first thing it does is analyze things. Hold down the trigger and point it at, let's say, that rubber duck. Good. Despite their name, rubber ducks are generally made of plastic, not rubber, but it will still make a perfect guinea pig. To collect it, you'll need one of these red capsules with a big window in front. I use Shrinkagen to store the tools when they're not needed. Keeps the lab looking tidy. Put that in the multi-tool. Now point the multi-tool at the rubber duck and press the trigger. Yes. I've missed this. Now comes the really cool part. That machine with the Shrinkagen is the opticizer. It uses Shrinkagen to let's scale it up and make a huge rubber duck. I have many more Shrinkagen tanks stored away. We can use this one up. Set the lever on the opticizer to the mountain icon and push the yellow button. The hologram out. Now press the button to send the giant rubber duck into the world. Well done. Now to take a look at the new giant duck, we will get huge ourselves. Go to the other machine, the Scalevator, and set its lever to the mountain icon. Then press the button when you're ready to see what this lab can really do. Welcome to the mountain realm. You are so big now that the city looks like a bunch of toys below you. Speaking of toys, I have one more thing to show you. Let's take this ducky for a ride. Grab the controller with the little antenna in front of you. This is the Duck Drone. Duck can reach and manipulate things outside while you stay safe and cozy in the lab. It has lots of useful tools. This one, the claw, grabs when you press the trigger on that controller. Use it to pick up the rubber duck, then we'll do a little obstacle course. You could fly out to, let's say that lighthouse out on the lake and take a turn around it. Oh no, not another problem. My sensors are showing substantial Shrinkagen leakage in the city. The wave must have hit the storage tanks. Who knows what happened this time? No, I refuse to be shut down again. Please, you need to help me. We need to get down there now. Wow, they are marvelous. I mean, horrible. The sensor report says the shrinkagen tanks are completely empty. So those ants must have soaked up a lot of it. But now they're starting to eat the city. We need to figure out how to stop them. Grab the multi-tool to get some data. Another duck. Shouldn't you be at your own lab? And it's gone. Strange. Keep an eye out for more ducks, would you? I'll track them in the collections page of the lab tab. Just like I feared, it's an inverted shrinkagen malfunction. Basically, the shrinkagen has merged with the ants and is stuck now. We need another huge blast of shrinkagen to get them back to normal. But we're out of shrinkagen. Also, the ants are too spread out to shrink all at once. You need to do two things. Find a way to gather all the ants in one place and find the missing shrinkagen to scale them back down. Do you see the spikes on their back? And the ones trying to cut out parts of buildings? These must be leafcutter ants. They're called that because they cut and collect bits of plants to tend their gardens. They're super strong and have complex societies. They won't be easy to handle. I don't think the ant is just splashing around. It's actually trying to pick up some water. At their regular scale, ants can carry drops of water because the surface tension of a tiny drop is enough to hold it together, like a little elastic ball. But at this scale, water behaves, well, watery, and the mandibles of the giant ants just glide through it. This one is a miner, one of the smaller leafcutter ants. Leafcutters live in complex societies where every caste has a different task. Miners forage for food and leaves to bring back to the nest. This is a major leafcutter ant. Majors are the biggest of the four subgroups of leafcutter ant workers. They're basically the soldiers of the colony. They point each other towards threats that need taking care of. When one major signals a threat to the rest of the group, the troops come rushing in. This is a bacteriophage, or bacteria eater. I can't believe the wave washed it all the way out here. They're found everywhere there are bacteria, but this one belongs to another Kurzgesagt lab. Let's grab a capsule and collect it so I can return it. More inverted shrinkagen, but the blast must have been below the malfunction threshold. This shrinkagen is... Return this to its original size so we can harvest the shrinkagen back. It feels great to be back in the scaling game. Even with well done, I sent that back to its home lab. Keep an eye out for more things like this. They may be our ticket to shrink these ants. A volcano. That belongs to another Kurzgesagt lab. The wave must have dragged it here. Quick, put a capsule in the multi-tool and collect it so I can return it. It must have been hit by the leak as well. The good news is, this object has flexible shrinkagen. Put it in the opticizer to scale it. Now move the yellow lever to the correct scale and press the button to extract the shrinkagen. Good. I sent that back to the energy lab and saved the shrinkagen. It was probably not the only one. If you can find the others, we can collect enough shrinkagen for the ants. So we have two groups of ants here. The miners, which are responsible for finding food and resources, and the majors, which protect the colony from threats. Maybe we can use that behavior to our advantage. Let's see how they act in their natural environment, the insect realm. Off to the insect realm. The Mars rover? You're a long way from home, aren't you? Leafcutter workers are actually divided into 4 subgroups based on their sizes. The smallest ones are minims, and then there are the minors, medias, and majors, which are the largest. A minim can be so much smaller than a major that it can fit comfortably on its head. Look at this plane. Passenger seats really are getting smaller and smaller. This ant must be the queen ant. It's much bigger than the rest, even bigger than the majors. Plus it has a crown on its head. Oh, nice. A banana for scale. I'll have to have a word with the energy lab. They clearly aren't storing their nuclear waste properly. A telescope. It's amazing what you can do with a set of curved mirrors in a tube. Great, that was all the shrinkagen to be collected around here. Now, let's get those ants all together so we can shrink them. Pheromones are essential for ants to communicate. It's a little like a scent trail, except instead of sniffing with noses like we would, ants pick up pheromones via receptors on their antennae, and those pheromones can convey information like threat or donut. Giant ants need giant pheromones. We should have enough shrinkagen by now to scale them up. Try using the opticizer. Now you need to deploy them, so again, push the yellow button on the opticizer. Great. Now, Duck will be able to help you lay your own human-sized pheromone trail. Back to the human realm we go. You should have just enough trail pheromones to attract all the minor ants. Time to show you another feature of the drone, the vacuum beam. Drive the drone over to those pheromones and pull the trigger to suck them up. Now you can use the drone to lay a path. Pull the trigger to spray pheromones at the ground. Try to lead them to the intersection in front of the donut shop. It seems like a safe place for them to gather until we can shrink them. That's a good spot. Just do that a few more times to make a path from the ants to the donut shop. Good. You've got the start of a trail. Almost there. One more spray should do it. That's the minor ants gathered up. Now we just need to get the major ants together so we can shrink them all with one good blast of shrinkagen. Let's go back to the insect realm and see what we can find to attract the major ants. Major ants respond to threats to the colony. Other ants can create a burst of alarm pheromones that says there's something scary here, and the majors will come deal with the problem. The major ants seem awfully interested in this bottle. There was another ant in there. It must be releasing alarm pheromones that are making the major ants react. Unfortunately, even though you freed it from the bottle, it's still stuck in that water drop. Major ant mandibles are strong enough to even take on large enemies like anteaters and armadillos, even when they're regular size. Thankfully, ants don't get their oxygen by sucking air into their lungs, so the water doesn't get inside very quickly. But they do have openings in their body, so they can't stay alive in that drop forever. If you collect it, maybe we can help it out. At this size, the forces holding the water drop together are stronger than the ant. You may be able to help by manipulating the scale of the water drop around it. We have enough shrinkagen to do that. That should have had some effect. Let's go to the human realm and see. The forces that make water molecules stick together are strongest at the edge of a water drop. So as soon as the drop is so big there's more middle than edge, the water drop breaks apart. These alarm pheromones indicate that this ant sees us as a huge threat. It's trying to call in reinforcements to protect the colony. And here come the major ants, ready to eliminate the threat, which in this case is us, so you might want to hurry. We have plenty of shrinkagen to take care of all these ants. Just grab that other capsule, put it in your multi-tool and blast those ants. There, perfectly regular-sized leafcutter ants going home to their perfectly regular-sized colony. I'd say that's a job well done. But let's make a quick trip up to the mountain realm to make sure we got them all. Well, we got all the ants, but now there's... Is that a tardigrade? That's incredible. We have to go see it up close. Take us back to the human realm. Wow, that's a huge tardigrade. I love tardigrades. They are so cool. These troops are a total overkill. I'm sure it just wants to play. We need to scale it down before it gets hurt and causes more damage, of course. Normally, this tardigrade would be about 500 microns long, or around the size of a grain of sand. It seems like the shrinkagen leak is still wreaking havoc on the other labs. What are all you lab ducks doing out here? Shoo, go away. Normally, this tardigrade would be about 500 microns long, or around the size of a grain of sand. Even though they're so small, they can withstand all sorts of extreme conditions. Stuff that would surely kill you is no problem for them. Oh, a coronavirus. Good thing you found that. Don't worry, the lab containers will keep it from spreading. Oh, a coronavirus. Good thing you found that. Don't worry, the lab containers will keep it from spreading. Strange matter. No, really, that's what it's called. Tardigrades are aquatic creatures. They're often called water bears. Even the ones that live mostly on land have a thin film of water over their bodies. It helps them feel cozy and stay active. We need more clues. This is the perfect opportunity for you to visit the bacteria realm. I love seeing tardigrades in their natural environment, and we might get an idea about how to deal with them. We are inside that puddle now. Water may look empty to you most of the time, but here in the bacteria realm, you can see that there's a whole other world that's full of life, including tardigrades. These tardigrades are just waking up from tun state at the moment. Lots of things can cause a tardigrade to go into its tun state: heat, cold, dehydration, high pressure, or lack of oxygen. These ones might have been dehydrated until that wave came along. A grain of rice, a staple food for roughly half the world's population. That's no moon. Wait, no, Yes, it is. Is that the new veggie patty from the health lab? Tardigrades are like little tanks, but when they don't like the environment, they go into an inactive ton state, where they basically put being alive on hold. Getting the big one into its ton state would make it a lot easier to scale down. Moss is a great hiding place for tardigrades because it traps water, provides shelter, and it's actually the inspiration for my favourite nickname for them, moss piglets. Moss is also one of their favourite snacks. A giant moss to snack on will surely distract our big buddy from those barricades for a while. Too bad we didn't bring a little ranch dressing. This will have to do. If we could get that giant tardigrade to go into its ton state, that should keep it under control for a while. We should go back to the human realm and see how we can calm our tank into a ball. Now then, there are lots of ways to make a tardigrade go into its ton state: high pressure, lack of oxygen, dehydration, heat, cold. If we had a tasty snack, you could use the drone to lure the tardigrade somewhere with one of those things. Those bits of wood don't make a very good barricade anymore, but they could make a great fire. The heat would dehydrate the tardigrade, and at this distance, we wouldn't accidentally roast it. Ice cream is stored around 0 degrees Fahrenheit, so using this to chill the tardigrade is worth a try. We just need to lure the tardigrade closer. That moss should be perfect. Bring it over there with the drone. The claw on the drone is perfect for moving things around. Now, where should we lead the tardigrade? Maybe someplace cold? Come on, take a bite. It's tasty, tasty moss. Oops, but it was a long shot anyway. The cart isn't cold enough to chill the entire tardigrade. We can try drying it off instead. Anything around we can use. A huge hairdryer would be perfect. Or a bonfire. Ah, caffeine. Probably one of humanity's favourite molecules. That's a neutrophil, the enthusiastic killers in your bloodstream that live to take out intruding bacteria. The easiest way to get the tardigrade into its ton state is probably to cool it down or find a way to dry up its watery coat. We have fuel for a fire, so technically all we need is a match, but that's boring. There are much cooler ways to create a spark. Let's swing by the molecular realm. Welcome to the molecular realm. Remember that broken barricade? These are its molecules, plus some from the air around it. This is a cooling tower. It cools water by exposing as much of the water's surface to air as possible. Now we have plenty of shrinkagen for the tardigrade as soon as we get it calmed down. Oxygen is a key ingredient of fire, but regular oxygen molecules bouncing into things don't cause fires. If they did, we'd be in a lot of trouble. For the oxygen molecules to react with the fuel, we'll need more and stronger collisions. Fire needs fuel. Anything with both carbon and hydrogen atoms will burn if you get it hot enough, so these cellulose molecules in the wood should do just fine. We need these oxygen molecules to speed up. The duck drone has just the perfect gadget. Oxygen is a key ingredient of fire, but regular oxygen molecules bouncing into things don't cause fires. If they did, we'd be in a lot of trouble. For the oxygen molecules to react with the fuel, we need these oxygen molecules to speed up. The duck drone has just the perfect gadget. I originally made the drone's flagellum to help duck move around in the smaller realms, but it's also with enough force, oxygen molecules are able to break down the bonds between molecules in the wood, releasing energy and light. Fire is chemistry and physics in action. These carbon dioxide molecules were formed in this combustion reaction. They'll come in handy when it's time to put the fire out. Why don't you collect some? Carbon dioxide is heavier than oxygen, so large quantities of it can get in between the fire and its fuel, cutting off the combustion reaction. We only have a little right now, but you know how to make that into a lot, right? A few molecule-sized molecules wouldn't be enough to put out a fire, but a few giant molecules will be. Those are waiting for us in the human realm whenever you're ready. What a beautiful roaring fire. So cozy. Agitating those oxygen molecules with the drone started a combustion reaction. In other words, fire. You'll recognize it once we're back in the human realm. Here it is. Bet you wished you had some marshmallows now. See the steam coming off the tardigrade? That's the film of water around its body evaporating. It will go into its ton state shortly and stay there until you can shrink it down and return it to the water. Don't worry, in that state it can survive almost anything. It'll be fine. Scientists don't know everything about how the tardigrade ton state works yet, though tardigrades can use a certain kind of sugar to replace the water in their bodies, and that protects their internal structures. Just fly the drone over the fire and pull the trigger to release the CO2. to bear. Wow, that was exciting, wasn't it? Now, let's get rid of that giant rubber duck. We don't want it reminding everyone who's caused all this trouble. Head to the mountain realm when you're done here. Okay, time to clean up. Oh, what now? Ugh, it appears something large and slimy is oozing through town. Back to the human realm we go. Ugh, that's a very large protist. Go back to your lab before you get eaten too. This stretchy single-celled packet of slime is a protist. Protists are what we call things that aren't plants, animals or fungi. Kind of a none-of-the-above option. Usually you can only peek at them in a drop of water under a microscope. Ugh, another Kurzgesagt lab must have been hit by the shrinkagen leak. At least fixing these will give us the shrinkagen we need to shrink that protist. A neutron star? The space lab will definitely want that back. That's a primordial black hole. These are thought to have formed just under a second after the Big Bang. Those lab ducks aren't up for grabs. Before we scale the protist down, we need to make it spit out all the stuff it swallowed. This puddle is probably where the protist came from. Most of them live in water. With just one cell and no means to reach it, it's best to live surrounded by water to begin with. Keeps reaching for more. We need to make it spew out the stuff it's eaten. Let's observe it in its natural habitat and try to find a solution there. Take us to the bacteria realm. Welcome back to the bacteria realm. We're inside the puddle now. Protists are common. Be careful to stay out of range of that neck, or the protist might decide to eat duck. This is a diatom, another type of protist that does photosynthesis. Silica cell walls make them pretty solid. They're a tough nut for other protists to gulp down, but you can give it a try. Not all protists are hunters. Some like to hang out in algae like this and feast on them like cows on pasture. LED bulbs are more energy efficient than the old light bulbs. This is an amino acid. They make up proteins, so they're incredibly important to your ability to be alive. Another protist like the big one. This species hunts, so their prey must have ways to defend themselves that we can harness. See if you can find something this protist likes to eat. This is my jam. This is an amoeba, another type of protist. You can tell because they have pseudopods, little bulges that kind of resemble feet. I told you diatoms are tough. Ah, you found bacteria. These bacteria look humble compared to the protists, but they spread everywhere, thanks to their clever survival strategies. Let's see now. As you can see, these bacteria have an ingenious method of spreading. Once they're in the protist, they use its resources to multiply. As soon as there are many of them, they start poking holes in its membrane, which lets water in and eventually bursts the protist. This lets the bacteria escape out into the environment. So bacteria have ways to get out of protists again, even after they were eaten. Usually that doesn't end well for the protist, but we don't have to go that far. We just need to make the protist release its human-sized snack. Come on, let's go to the molecular realm to see how it works. We're in the molecular realm, but this time you're getting the literal inside scoop. You're on the inside of a protist, standing on the membranes holding it all together. Didn't think this is how your day would go, huh? A nuclear bomb. Awful at any size, really. Rabies, the deadliest virus on Earth. We should definitely return that to the health lab right away. A vaccine. Let's get that back to the health lab where it could do some good. That's not just any asteroid. That's the asteroid that probably wiped out the dinosaurs. My readings show that we have enough shrinkagen to shrink the protist, as soon as you get all that stuff out. Living in fresh water with a body filled with chemicals is a risky business. Protists have evolved to maintain a delicate balance between the water on the inside and on the outside. This is a receptor, a type of protein that's an essential part of the communication infrastructure of the cell. They receive messages and trigger responses. Each of them is tailored to fit a very specific signal protein so that there is no unnecessary chatter inside the cell. This is a protein produced by the bacteria that we fed to the protist earlier. Its shape should match up to one of the receptors here, so they can connect like puzzle pieces. Let's try it and see what happens. Grab one of those proteins and drop it onto the matching receptor. Here we go. This is how the bacteria set themselves free. That protein is making a hole open in the surface of this protist. And you and I will snatch that concept right up. Living in fresh water with a body filled with chemicals is a risky business. Protists have evolved to maintain a delicate balance between the water on the inside and on the outside. Excellent. If we want these proteins to have the same effect on the giant protist, we need to scale them up. That should do it. I think that's everything we can learn here for now. And who knows what else that slimy glutton has managed to gobble in the meantime. Back to the human realm. The protein only works from the inside, but we can't wait until the protist finds it. Feeding time. The drone is your best bet for feeding the proteins to the giant protist. Time to deliver a protein-packed lunch. Oh, don't worry. Duck has been through worse. There we go. Bacteria would have kept opening holes until the protist died, but we just want our stuff back. Let's shrink the protist before it decides to have another snack. Well done. Again. Third time's the charm, right? Now then, didn't we still have something to do in the mountain realm? Where were we? All right, restoring order to the city. No more outsized bath toys around. Knew I forgot something. Uh-oh, I've detected more abnormal shrinkagen behavior, but this one is odd. It's not a creature. It seems to be more of a strange fog. Let's check the city, but be careful. Here we are back to our regular size. So what would you say is the problem this time? A resistor. Who could resist? Ah, giant fungi. That certainly is a problem. Fungi grow quickly and are incredibly good at breaking down organic matter, up to and including rocks. I'm sure you can guess what that would mean for the city. If the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, then ATP are the fully charged batteries coming out of it. Actually, only a small percentage of fungi grow mushrooms, which are the fruit of the fungi. They produce and keep the spores that can seed new ones. These are spores, packets of genetic material, like millions of plant seeds. Only the few that reach warm, dark, and damp surfaces will grow. If you don't get rid of them, the flooded city will be a fungi forest in no time. Welcome back to the insect realm. See anything interesting? Oh dear, this is not a good place for a city. Good, we can get some more detail from here. My sensors say these spores carry a negative charge. That means their molecules have more electrons that are balanced out by their nuclei. That negative charge creates static that helps them cling to surfaces. Let's send the drone out to investigate them. Dogs in space, sure. But ants in space? That's new. This fungus can fling its little orange orbs full of spores up to 6 meters away. This is why the species is called cannonball fungus. When negatively charged particles touch something that conducts electricity, the extra electrons jump ship and travel through the metal, creating a static shock. Thankfully, Duck has a tool called an electrostatic collector that has positively charged plates. Since negatively charged things are attracted to positively charged things, you can use it to attract. Nicely done. The electrostatic collector works great here, but if we want to gather up all the spores in the city, we're going to need a lot more power than the lab can supply. Welcome back to the bacteria realm. We're inside one of the fungal cells called hyphae. This is the part of the fungi that does, if I didn't know any better, I'd say they want to tell us something. Alas, poor Yorick, the health lab probably wants you back. Alas, poor Yorick, the health lab probably wants you back. Here we are, mitochondria, powerhouses of the cell. They're responsible for turning nutrients into energy that the cells can use. A fungi cell like this has many mitochondria to produce all the energy it needs. A cellular battery should give us power, but it might need to be a lot bigger. If the shoe doesn't fit, rescale it. You found a space shuttle. These were retired in 2011, but they're still useful for our space videos because they're so recognizable. Hold on, is that grain of sand conscious? What's the consciousness lab been doing all this time? That should be more than enough power. Now Duck can grab it and use it for the drone. Let's go to the mountain realm and power up the drone. Use the drone's vacuum beam to pull in that mitochondria and power up. From the powerhouse of the cell to the powerhouse of the drone. Well, we can gather them up, but how do we get rid of them? We need an even closer look. Let's go to the molecular realm. We are on the surface of one of those spores. Looks like we need to devise a solution out of, thin air. Get it? Because these are air molecules. Oh look, a duck coin. Probably doesn't scale well. Always good to have spare batteries around. Air is a mixture of 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and small amounts of other gases like CO2. Luckily, it's not very reactive, so it won't suddenly decompose and rearrange into new molecules with other atoms. But we can change that. This looks like a lysovirus. Oh, never mind, it's just a pickle. Butterflies are found everywhere on Earth except Antarctica. Some use ants as babysitters, others just live harmoniously with them. There, that's almost everything. Now we just need to destroy those spores before we shrink the fungi and get on with our lives. Air molecules have stable chemical bonds, so their electrons are arranged in a way that keeps their atoms together. If we could disturb their electrons, we could create new reactive molecules, molecular cannonballs, to shoot at the cell walls of our spores. Oxygen tends to really hold on to its electrons. If we break oxygen molecules, the atoms will try to steal electrons from whatever's in their way. That's water vapor. If we could collect all the water out of the air, the fungi would shrivel up and die, along with everything else. So that's not the best way of dealing with our problem. One way to break oxygen molecules would be to put up an electric field that overpowers the strong pull of their nuclei. I have the perfect tool for this. The drone has an ionizing wand which can rip electrons out of their bonds. Go ahead, try it out. See how the wand... Look, that oxygen molecule broke through the cell wall. With the extra power from the mitochondria, we can create more of those molecules and get rid of the giant spore cloud too. Ready to zap some spores? The electrostatic collector is automatic, so all you have to do is press the trigger. Good job. You've cleared up the spores, so we won't have any more giant mushrooms sprouting up. Let's shrink these and be done with it. That's the last one. Well done. The rubber duck. Ah, yes. Let's take care of that as the last order of business and call it a day. We have some shrinkogen left over. Go ahead and use it on the rubber duck. Let's take one more look at the human realm just to be sure. But I think we're finally in the clear. Everything looks good to me. That was a wild ride. I can't wait to evaluate all that data. My next experiments will go so much better than those bloopers in the past.
Are you calling me a blooper?
So there is something I haven't really told you up until now. Remember I said things can get tricky with shrinkogen? Well, this is how I know. But you were supposed to be locked away.
The other ducks tried to warn you I was close. I just couldn't stay away when I noticed that beautiful creature out on the lake.
You mean the big rubber ducky? We've already put it back to normal where it belongs.
What? How dare you? I will unplug you once and for all.
Oh, thank you guys. Quick, the ducks brought us enough for one last blast. That was close. Note to self, no more duck experiments.